I'm Mick and welcome back to Movies TV Mad and Tuesday's edition of the DC show. How to obliterate your entire Green Lantern fandom, your audience in one episode of a Lanterns adaptation series by giving them a toxic, arsehole, old Hal Jordan and killing him off in the first episode. Now, I don't know if they're bringing him back to life. I don't know that. I think Hal will play some part via the other timeline, I think, during the series. But that isn't good enough. They literally went up yours to the entire fandom. There's a huge Green Lantern core fandom. And they've obliterated it. So as I said yesterday, no matter how many people watch the first episode, that audience will shrink in episode 2, shrink even further episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, and there won't be much of an audience by the finale. This is not how you make entertainment. This is not how you inspire people to enjoy entertainment. And they've obliterated their viewership in one episode because they knew damn well that people love Hal Jordan. The Green Lantern fans love Hal Jordan. But to me, it wasn't really the project for Hal and John Stewart. As I keep on saying, we shouldn't have had a streaming television adaptation of Green Lantern. Should have been a movie. Should have been several movies. We should have started off with one of the alien lanterns because it hasn't been done before. You know, the movie did Hal. The animated series did Hal. And now this live action series did Hal badly. And I don't even think this was the right project for Jon Stewart. But if you are going to do a streaming TV show, make it cosmic, bright, and exciting. That's what everyone wants because that's the comics. Fundamentally, the Hal Jordan that people saw in the first episode of Lanterns isn't the Hal from the comics, not any comics. This is not who he is. They made that decision through their extremism and propaganda, and they obliterated their viewership. No matter how many people watch the first episode, that audience, as I say, will shrink because of what they did. It's a bit like Man of Steel when Superman kills Zod. That hurt rewatches. I didn't have a major issue with it. As a passionate, hardcore Superman fan, I accepted this was a modern take, and this is what they decided to do. I wish Superman would have learned some lesson from that, but he doesn't. So Zod doesn't die in Man of Steel. Man of Steel is going to get very close to $1 billion. But it's that moment that divided people. As I say, I don't necessarily agree that Superman should be a killer. That's not who he is. But I think the way it was done, he was given no choice. I still think it was a bad decision. Because as I say, they could have made so much money if not for that moment. It doesn't make me dislike Man of Steel. Man of Steel's a great contemporary Superman movie. But Lanterns, look, as I said before it aired, you know, it's HBO. It was going to be a watchable show. From what I see, it's a watchable show. The opening 5 minutes was interesting. Some character development. It's HBO. It's watchable. It's not totally bad, and I admit that. But it's not just about making a viable drama that people want to watch. You're adapting something. And when you're adapting Hal Jordan, you can't go away from what he is in the comics. Say what you want about the Green Lantern movie, But they got how. Dead right. But it's part of their racism. It's part of their bigotry. It's part of their political mindset. This is what they do. They hate straight white males. So they make them arseholes. They kill them off. They make them stupid. Look at what they did to Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. They were making fun of him. They made him act like a twat. And this is what they do. Now, they don't have a show. They don't have an audience. They don't have a consumer. As I keep on saying, without a consumer, you haven't got anything because of one core bad decision. Making him an arsehole, which Hal Jordan isn't. Making him old, which Green Lantern fans certainly didn't like. But then killing him off. That was the rod that broke the camel's back. And now they've pissed people off. And many people on social media are saying, fuck this, we're not going to watch it. That's the end. So let me be clear to you. For the people in the back of the room saying that Green Lantern proves that James Gunn's DCU can survive and is great. No. HBO, Lindelof, and the people who made that show have done a solid job of making a professional production that is watchable. I concede that. But you're adapting something. And the problem is they don't understand the thing that they've adapted. The point with, 2 Green Lanterns on Earth. Or the ring, there can only be one ring. All this nonsense. They got it wrong. There's something else that they did as well, of course. Like the Guardians have always been male, so the first Guardian we meet is female. I mean, I don't have a particular issue with it, but it's part of their propaganda and extremism. Because that's how they make entertainment today. It's on their political mindset and views. The focus isn't on writing a great piece of entertainment because they do not care about entertainment. That's why they're sinking their own industry. And as I keep on saying, instead of reading the room and saying, we're not making money, we're in trouble, we have to go back to the way they used to run this industry. No, they double down on everything that they're doing to make the situation worse. And what you get, you make enemies of your consumer. I mean, someone mentioned Barbie, mentioning the Snyder fans. They can't help themselves. That's WB. They're still butthurt because a bunch of fucking farmers, a bunch of mechanics owned them and exposed them because this is how dumb this modern day industry is. They're so thick and dumb and shouldn't be in the positions they're in. A bunch of farmers, mechanics and shopkeepers exposed them and got the Snyder Cut released. And they're still going on about us. What about the Harley Quinn show? Trying to make fun of us on the Harley Quinn show and we reversed it and we made the t-shirts, do you remember? Everything they've tried to do to the Snyder fans hasn't worked. But they're still so butthurt. But it doesn't matter. We won. And we are winning. Because we are defunding these bums. They knew exactly what they wanted to do here. Make a cheap, grounded, gritty HBO show. But pick up the Green Lantern comic and see how dark and gritty it is. It's not. Making an Earth-based show was a mistake. Making a Lantern show from the beginning was a mistake. The Green Lantern world has to be bright and cosmic. Yes, I want to see the aliens, the alien lanterns' home worlds. That's cool. I want eventually a Jon Stewart and a Howard Jordan working together in their peak. Maybe they're flying around in a ship. I don't know. But this was never, ever a good idea. When they first announced Lanterns, I said, all right, fair enough. They're going to do this show, then they'll spin off into movies. But clearly, that was never the intention. This was done because it's cheap. Because a Green Lantern movie is going to be expensive. It's a huge, cosmic, galactic universe. And that kind of thing needs money. But they spent nearly 400 million on Superman, nearly 200 million on Supergirl. Movies that, well, Supergirl brought them nothing. Superman broke even. They're not making money. And right, by the way, to the person on my chat yesterday, is it Cream? Cream something? He was saying, he kept on repeating that Lanterns is a success. Let me explain to you how streaming works. Streaming's not like cinema. If I buy a ticket for a movie, they make money. In reality, cinemas don't really make money on ticket sales. They make money on confectionaries. But anyway, right? They share the money between the studios and the cinema chain, yeah? But with streaming, you pay a subscription. You're already there. The ratings don't make them any money. It's not like broadcast television. That's why replacing broadcast with streaming was a mistake. With broadcast, now I know they have ads now, but broadcast have a capacity to make more money on sponsorships and advertisements. So they don't make much money on your viewership. Now I don't know what the Lanterns viewership is. I don't. But you don't make money on viewership. Even if someone's watching ads, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But I'm quite sure when the ratings come in, they'll be solid, but not record-breaking. And I've already made my prediction. The Lantern's second episode will dip in viewership. So for the person saying, oh, it's been a success, where's your evidence that it's a success? Are you talking about corrupt studio shills who work for the very industry? They're not independent journalists or critics. Are you talking about Rotten Tomatoes that's owned by the studio fucking system? You're talking about that rating. So a site owned by the studio system and corrupt studio shills are saying how great it is. And you're calling that a success. For me, that's not how success works. I'll be right back. Wait there. And that's the problem with some of you. You think a high Rotten Tomatoes score is success. You think positive reviews is successful. Suicide Squad 2016 had terrible reviews, but made the studio 750 million. Around that, it made a profit. Yeah? But everyone was talking shit about it on the internet, so the studio and everyone else decided that it was a failure. How is Suicide Squad 2016 a failure when it made bank? How is Man of Steel a failure when it made bank? How is BVS a failure when it made bank? How can the Snyder Cut be a failure when it's the most successful movies on streaming? One of the most successful streaming events of all time. That's not a failure. Creature Commandos was a failure. Peacemaker Season 2 was a failure. Superman was a failure. And Supergirl was definitely a fucking failure. It doesn't matter about scores. You've got to take your mindset out of this situation with scores and reviews. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make anyone any money. So just because they get positive reviews from people who literally work for them, and just because a site owned by them is giving them whatever it's giving them, right, a fresh rating, because of the studio shills who work for them, you get it, that's not success. You have to start understanding this. that ratings and reviews do not equate to success. Money does. And the DCU is on minus fucking zero. So don't come to me and tell me, oh, it got a fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, all the critics liked it. Oh, Grace Randolph liked it. I couldn't give a shit. Who's Grace Randolph? You know, a shaggable YouTuber. That's all Grace Randolph is. She's nothing special. She's a failed actress who's created, respect to her, a brilliant YouTube, you know, a YouTube platform. The people watching, that's great. And Mick, nobody watches your YouTube videos, and that's cool. I'm here for myself and whoever wants to watch me, as you know. I don't cry about my numbers. I don't sit there, I don't go on YouTube Studio and go, oh no, nobody's watching me. You should know me by now. So none of that matters to me. None of that. When you come in and deliver $2 billion after 3 weeks of being in the cinema, or the movie theatre, as you Americans call it, right? You can come bragging about Lanterns being a success. When there's 100 million people watching your show, yeah, and you're breaking ratings records, like the premiere of Smallville did back in 2001, got 8 million viewers on the WB, which became the CW. By the way, the CW never recorded viewers like that. It was impossible for them to do so anyway. When you break ratings records like the first Daredevil season on Netflix, you can come and brag about Lanterns being successful. Now, I've only seen the first 5 minutes of Lanterns because they released it. I haven't seen the show. And I said the first 5 minutes were acceptable. They were okay. But I don't want this. I don't want a dowdy, dull, you know, darkly lit Green Lantern streaming TV show. I want epic and awesome Green Lantern movies. I'll take that Ryan Reynolds movie over this. Because at least it's bright. At least the people who worked on the movie actually like and love Green Lantern. And they tried, and nothing they got wrong on that movie was to gaslight the audience. Their hearts were in the right place. They got the costumes wrong. They should never have been CGI. Or they should have been real material, maybe touched up with CG. But at that time, movie makers were obsessed with the new technology of CGI. And they went too far. But OR looked beautiful. Sinestro looked brilliant. And he was brilliantly performed by Mark Strong. They tried. They got some things right and some things wrong. They almost got a sequel despite being a flop. Just like Superman Returns nearly got a sequel, even though it was a flop. I think Superman Returns and the Green Lantern movie should have both had sequels to fix what they got wrong. Because there was a good movie in Superman Returns and there was a good movie in Green Lantern. And it, you know, those movies had their fans. So you have to look at the whole situation. But they're so greedy, as soon as they lose money, they react. And believe you me, they've reacted to the flop that is Supergirl. They've made their changes behind the scenes. Yesterday, we saw a teaser trailer for Zack Snyder's, what is it, The Last Photograph, or whatever it's called. Looks leaps and bounds better than anything that Gunn can do. By the way, we shouldn't be comparing Zack to Gunn. But that teaser looked immense. And I mean, it wasn't the film I expected it to be. It looks a bit odd and creepy. I like it. I like the look of it. So I definitely will be watching it. I hope it's a theatrical movie. I want to go to the cinema and watch a Zack Snyder movie because I haven't gone to the cinema to watch a Zack Snyder movie since Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, or I could cheekily say Wonder Woman 2017. Zack Snyder's the man. He has a pride in making movies that look good and feel good and make people feel something, that are visceral. Us fans don't ask for a lot, but we didn't want this grounded, gritty, streaming TV show called Lanterns. We didn't want Hal to be an old, toxic dude. And we didn't want Hal to be killed off. Now, I don't think we were asking a lot to make these demands, to stick to the fucking comics. Do you realise how many great Hal Jordan stories and Jon Stewart stories there are in animation and the comics? There's some great stuff there. It's not like they don't have a base to look at. So to me, it's utterly disappointing, but I warned you. I told you they would kill off Hal Jordan before anyone else did. I told you that. I predicted it before any of my sources told me anything. Told you. Told you, fucking told you. Not because I'm clever, because I know them now. We all know them. These are not people who care about entertaining you. Stop believing in them. But anyway, Cream, yesterday you asked a question. And I'm going to answer your question. Because you claim Lanterns is successful. Does that change anything? No! No. Wasn't successful, but if you want to live in a fantasy world where it's successful, right, because you think ratings and Rotten Tomatoes corrupt scores is a marker of success, then I'm going to give you the simple answer. No. Doesn't change anything. Clayface being successful doesn't change anything. It's done, it's dusted, it's over. Because people don't like Gunn. People are upset with Gunn. He had an opportunity to make a generational Superman film. Purposely, he didn't because he hates Superman. And he's always hated Batman. So you can't have someone who just wants to represent obscure characters well and do Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman dirty and the Lanterns dirty because they're big IPs. And because he's a little man with a little mind and only cares about obscure characters. You're running a business, son. You're running a business. I want to see the smaller characters we've never seen adapted. But I also want the big characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman and the Lanterns done fucking justice. I think we all deserve that. Listen, we're your consumer, but you treat us like your enemies. And that's the problem. We're not your enemies. You need us to give you money. And we need you to make great shit. But somewhere along the way, something went wrong. You decided every straight white male is a Trump supporter. But even if we were, that doesn't justify what you've done to this once beautiful industry. Even if I was a Trump supporter, which I'm not, it wouldn't justify that. Everyone is entitled to support the Muppet that they want. I don't understand why anyone would support Donald Trump. But they do, and that's life. I never understood why people supported Maggie Thatcher when I was a kid. But that's their right. To destroy an entire industry over a man with orange hair who's overweight is outrageous. And that's what they've done. You people are the reason that Trump's had 2 terms in office. Because your opposition was pathetic. You drove people away. You targeted straight white males. No matter who they voted for, you drove them out of the Democratic Party. Because you're stupid and you're extreme. Funny you've all gone quiet on Hayden's death though, haven't you? Because it was a woman who took Hayden to meet that perv. And that doesn't sit well with your agenda, extremism and propaganda. So that's why I'm beginning a new initiative. It's called the Hayden Initiative. That's why I'm doing something else called the Entertainment Reset. The Entertainment Reset is a bit like the Great Fire of London. There was a great plague in London, and the Great Fire that caused mass devastation killed that plague. Western English-speaking modern entertainment has a plague of perverts and murderers and horrible people. So that has to die. then we can start building new production companies like my one I'm planning to do if I ever get the funding, Movies TV Mad. And I've spoken about that before. If I ever do that production company, there will be 2 statues of 2 female actors. One is Judy Garland and one will be Hayden. So we never forget. So we're reminded that people in the workplace should be protected. The abuse is going on in that industry while they talk down to their audience and think the straight white males of their audience are the problem. When they're the criminals. When James Gunn posted on Twitter jokes about boys being abused, because apparently it's funny that boys were abused. Because girls have always been abused, so it's funny that boys have been abused, right? Isn't that right, James? Isn't that what your extremism means, yeah? You can't be right in the head, can you? You can't be right in the head. But anyway, we need an entertainment reset. There's no fixing that house of pervs. I don't know what happened to Hayden. I don't know how she died. I do know what she revealed a couple of months ago, though. I'll never forget Hayden. She was magnificent in Heroes. As the cheerleader, she was fantastic. What a performance. She was fantastic in Nashville. She was fantastic in anything she did, and everybody loved her. But I don't want to hear all these actors and directors talking about her now. We loved her. If you loved her so much, why didn't you look after her? Why did you allow some woman to take her down to a perv? Now, please, don't talk to me about love. Don't talk to me now. If you won't look after each other, then the Don is going to have to step in and shut the doors of your corrupt industry, create a reset, and rebuild it. But no, you make a show called Lanterns and kill off the toxic white dude because of your extremism, racism, and propaganda, and think you're making the world a better place while your actresses and children are being abused in your very industry. I don't know. All I know is you're corrupt criminals, and enough is enough. Why do you think I'm writing Saving Judy Garland? They raped her, they abused her, and they got her addicted to uppers. Why do you think the film's called Saving Judy Garland? Yeah? These stories need to be told. Enough World War II stories. I know you don't want us to forget. Enough World War II stories. Let's talk about what's going on in your own backyards now, yeah? And what you're doing to people and how you abuse people, yeah? And how you think it's okay for Israel to mass murder a bunch of innocent people, yeah? Why don't we make some Palestinian movies, yeah? About what's going on in Palestine. We know you're never going to make them. No. Enough is enough. I've had enough of them. I've had enough of them. All you had to do was make a great Green Lantern movie. All you had to do was make a great DCU. But you couldn't even be bothered to try. So don't talk to me about Lanterns being successful, because it's got a few scores. Those scores are lies and corrupt. Imagine they created Rotten Tomatoes, or someone did, and then they bought it, and they have control over it. They control the critics. And then people call a movie successful because critics seem to like it. Even the fucking big platform YouTubers are fucking corrupt, like Boba Talks. People go on about Nerdrodic and Geeks and Gamers and Disparu, who at least I enjoy watching, although I don't agree with their politics. Let me tell you something. Boba Talks is worse than Nerdrodic. I like Gary, by the way. I'm just saying, if you hate him, let me just say something to you. Boba Talks is worse than Nerdrodic. Nerdrodic is honest about his intentions and what he believes. He doesn't lie to you. Boba Talks lies to you. He tells you the DCU's great. He avoids giving an actual opinion and does this kind of review where he looks at the details of films, but he doesn't actually tell you. He doesn't actually give you a fucking opinion like you've had here for nearly almost 30 minutes. That's the thing. That's the issue. Honesty. You can be a rich, huge platformer by being honest. Nerdrodic is honest about what he believes. And basically, all what Boba Talks wants to do, was he always pretending to be a Batman fan and a DC fan? Was this always his plan? I fell for it because he's a damn fucking good actor, isn't he? Anyway, if you've been interacting with me on my live YouTube premiere, thank you very much. If you watch my live YouTube premiere, thank you very much. If you found the pre-recorded edition of today's DC show after stumbling home drunk, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't let your girlfriends and your wives watch. They will fall in love with me. They'll want to meet up. I don't want to end your relationships. I promise. I'll give them back afterwards. I will speak to you all again tomorrow. See you later.